Hi, today's activity is going to be to finally get to use Inventor. We're going to be using additive and subtractive processes to create some figures. So on your Canvas website, you're looking for the document that says Model Creation after Additive and Subtractive. And this is the first item we're going to be creating. It doesn't really have any kind of purpose, it's just called a widget, but it gives you all the dimensions here. So let's just look at it to start with. We've got an overall length of 4. You've got these little pieces that are 0.5 in length and 0.5 in length. You've got a height here of 0.5. So just in terms of length, if this whole thing is 4, this is 0.5 and this is 0.5, then this length would be 4 minus those 0.5, so it would be 3. Your overall height is here, so it's this piece and it's this piece. So we have 1.5 and 1, so we have an overall height of 2.5. And we have a depth of 2.5. We also have some interesting geometry over on this little side, but we'll add that in after we create the main shape. So on Inventor, we're going to go into Projects, and you're going to create a new practice project, so a new single user project. We can call this additive and additive subtractive and your initials, or something close to that. Additive subtractive. I'm going to hit finish. It says the project path you created doesn't exist. Should it be created? And you say yes, that's what I wanted to do. And now you'll see there's a check mark on the project name that we just created. I'm going to hit done. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, now that we have our project, is we're going to create a new part file. Let's check our dimensions. All dimensions are in English. So we have a standard IPT is in English. If I needed to switch it to millimeters, I could do so. But we're going to create our part in English. So standard inches IPT. And I double click on that. So you'll notice that when my screen opens up, I've got some things you may not have. I've got a bright blue background, I have grid paper, and so if you don't have these things, it means that we need to do something first. So if you do not have these things, X out of that little box on your viewing window, your graphics window, and back here on this main menu under Tools and Application Options, there are 3 settings that you need to designate. So Sketch, you want to select grid lines. Under Display. Under Part, you want to be sketching on the XY plane. And then under Colors, you want to pick one of these top 3 or 4. It has the best contrast. I'm going to switch to blue. No, I'm going to pick Forest. And then at the very bottom of the screen, you will see the words Apply. So you're going to click Apply. X out of that little application options window and go back to Get Started tab, and then we're going to pick New, Standard IPT again, and reopen the window. So now it should come with grid lines. You're already on the XY plane, and you've got some nice contrasting colors. So back on our document, I'm going to start by sketching this front face. So I know that I have 0.5 and then up 1.5 over how much? Well, let's check it out. So it says from this point to this point is 1, from this point to this point is 2, and I know my overall length is 4, so it must be 1 on that side as well. So I'm going to come over 1, up 1, across 2, down 1, over 1, down 1.5, 0.5, up 0.5, and then across. So that's what I'm going to start with. So generally when I start sketching, I start in the origin. You can start wherever you want, but I like it to do that. So I'm going to select my line tool, and I'm going to left click on the origin, and I'm going to orient my segment going straight up and down, and I'm going to type in 0.5 instead of messing with it until it gets there. And I'm going to hit enter. So it created a segment 0.5 in length. And I'm going to create another one on 0.5. So 0.5 by 0.5. I'm going to go back and check. So I've gone up 0.5 and over 0.5. Well, neither of those were correct. I needed to go up 1.5 and right 1. So the cool thing about Inventor is that I can edit those dimensions. So I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to go here where it says Dimension. I'm going to left click on the dimension, and where it said 1.5, I'm going to type 0.5, I'm going to type in 1.5. And then this one was supposed to be 1. So by rolling in and out on my wheel on my mouse, that's how I'm moving in and out on this frame. Alright, so went up 1.5, right 1, so I'm going to go up 1, and then I'm going to go right 2. So back to my line tool. Go up 1, and type in the number 1, and then I'm going to go right 2. And then I'm going to match what I just did. So I'm going to come down 1. Oops, didn't like that. So I'm going to try again. Down 1. Right 1. Down 1.5. And I'm going to go back and check to see what's up at the bottom. Okay, here I am. So now I'm going to go left 0.5 and up 0.5. So I'm going to go left 0.5 and up 0.5. Come across 2. Well, we said the whole thing was 4. I'm using 2.5, so I'm going to come across 3. Down 0.5 and left 0.5. Okay. So I've got the outline of my front face. I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and now I'm going to extrude that out. So back on my document, it says that my depth is 2.5. So here, in 3D modeling mode, I'm going to extrude this shape. It should default to that shape because it's the only one. I'm going to just, so it's pulling it out towards me. I want it to go back. It's just because I feel like it doesn't really have to be. But I'm going to go back a distance of 2.5. And I switched the directionality right here. So I can go direction 1 to the left-ish or forward, backward. I could split the difference, 2.5 in either direction. You could do it asymmetrically. Maybe I want to do 2.5 one way and 1.5 the other way. But in this case, I just want to go back 2.5. So I hit OK. All right. So now the additive part of additive modeling is that back on our figure, we have this wonky little thing sticking out the edge, and I need to create that. So let's see where it is in space to start with. Looks like it's from this corner, it's 0.5 to the right. It looks like the distance here is 0.75 and this is 0.25. And if the whole thing was 1.5, I'll take 1.5 minus 1 and know that it's 0.5 to get to the top of that little space. So I'm going to go right 0.5 and up 0.5 to start my drawing of this rectangle. So I'm going to be sketching here. I right click on that plane and I'm going to select New Sketch. So now I can add essentially a Lego to my other Lego. So back in line mode, I'm going to go, you'll see the little color of my indicator change from yellow to green when I lock on that corner. So I'm going to go right 0.5 and then up 0.5. Oops, didn't work. See how it kicked to the right? So I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to right click on that dimension. I'm going to hit Delete. And right click on that line, hit Delete. It'll let me get rid of it. Yeah. Okay. So now it turns yellow to green. It locks. I'm going to go up 0.5. See if it'll let me do it this time. Nope. Okay. Inventor can be stubborn sometimes. It's trying to predict what you want it to do, and sometimes it doesn't work out, so let's try again. So this time, I'm just going to go up 0.5 manually and click, left click there to drop the point. Alright, so neither of those lines are actually in my sketch. They just got me to this point in space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on those lines and I'm going to turn them into construction lines. And so you'll see that they turn dotted. There we go. Okay, so back on my document, I'm going to be creating the profile of this rectangle. I know that it's going to be 0.25 high and 1.5 across. So from the point I created, right here, I'm going to go 0.25 high, and I'm going to go over 1.5. And then I'm just going to finish that rectangle. So down 0.25 and back across. Sometimes the sketch tool makes you outline it again. There we go. So I hit finish sketch, and now you can see the rectangle there. So back on the Word document, you can see that the depth of that is 0.75. So I'm going to extrude that rectangle I just created a distance of 0.75. Now if I wanted to, I could go the other direction. That would cut out that shape. And you'll see it switched from join to cut when I switch directions. But for this one I want to add the Lego because it's an additive process. So I'm going to hit OK with it coming out towards me. And then I should have a shape that looks just like that. Alright, so you're going to hit File, Save As, and you're going to call it Part 1 in your initials, and hit Save. For those of us that are working on E drive, you want to make sure you're putting in the right file. So you'll go into here, find your E drive or your external hard drive, and save it into the file with your name. And thanks for listening.